Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be continuing on with our season previews as we are covering the Minnesota Wild today. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Wild had a really familiar season from what we've seen in recent memory, where they had a really good regular season and then failed to break through out of the first round yet again. It is so familiar for this team. And while they will continue to probably have another good year, hypothetically, at least that's what's assumed, the talk again shifts to what can they do in the playoffs. So with that being said, what are some storylines for the club heading into this season? The first one is, can the Wild, bubble wrap Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov? That sounds kind of like a joke, but it's partially true. These two combined for 71 out of the 239 goals for the team last year. So about 30% of the goals were tied up in two players. And they were 23rd in the league for goals for per 60. So already an offense that wasn't particularly dominant, but also one that was really top heavy in terms of goal scoring ability. And we know with Kaprizov, he might have 50 goal potential in him. I really don't know. He has been so impressive since he's joined the league. And Boldy, obviously a very, very young guy that's been able to have early success. He is going to be a key piece of this as well, which is so weird to say from a young guy. I guess Kaprizov's not been in the league a whole long while too, even though he is a little bit older. But it's one of those situations where the Wild cannot afford to have them go down for a long stretch of time. That being said, what can they do to protect these guys? The answer is there's not a whole lot they can do. There is no magic potion that's going to be able to keep them safe all year. They play a physical game, and the reality is it's a team sport, and they're going to have to play some minutes. Are they going to try to rest them? Are they going to try to, maybe, shift some roles around? I don't know. I just am seeing a certain scenario here where if one of them goes down early in the year, they'd be in a pickle. Their power play wasn't particularly effective either last year. I think they finished 15th for power play percentage with these guys. So imagine what their total offense and just their power play offense could look like without them. I think this is obviously a thing that's on Minnesota fans' minds right now, but the good news is these aren't guys who are going to lay a crazy amount of hits. They're not going to try to block a lot of shots. So in general, I guess you're kind of hoping that these guys will play it safe, if you will, and they will just have the goons protect them and focus more so on the goal scoring and hopefully stay safe, because again, the offense could really sputter without them, and you're hoping that they are healthy because they are a fun duo to watch, but we will see. The second thing is, can management stay patient? This is a Wild side that is not wild in terms of off-season moves. They have lost some pieces, and they really can't go out there and make any big moves over the next 2 years because they have like $15 million tied up in buyouts. And right now you have a spot where, again, top-heavy roster that hasn't been able to go out and make a bunch of additions to try to help the team because they don't have the money to spend it. So help is probably going to have to come within. You're looking at probably like Marco Rossi, Brock Faber, as some of these younger guys that should be able to try to come in and help. Rossi obviously has not got off to the start you want in his NHL career. And then Brock, obviously, he's a Minnesota guy, right? I think so. Be cool to see him get off to a good point early in his career and help his team out, as this is a side that could use a lot of cheap rookies to come in and help them. We've talked for a while now about Minnesota prospects that could go out there and really help them out. Well, these next 2 years would be the year to do it for them, because again, when you're pinching pennies, you really need some value out of some other pieces. These could be some of those guys, but I don't want to place a crazy amount of hype around these guys or expectations. Neither one of them has played more than 20 games in the NHL, so we really don't know what they're going to be. Also, you kind of wonder if management can stay patient above guys like Dean Evason and then Bill Guerin. Evason's been around for a while, and they have been a really good regular season team, but again, kind of like what we've seen with the Wild for like a decade now. Not a lot of postseason success, none really. And then with Guerin, obviously, he has made some decisions that have been good for the team. He's made some decisions that have been bad for the team. If the club got off to a bad start over the course of these next 2 years, would we see the higher-ups above Guerin end up saying, we got to clean house, we got to get a new GM, we got to get a new head coach? I don't exactly know what's going on. I think Guerin did sign an extension not too long ago, might have been within this year, so you are kind of watching out for that. Security wise, you probably say that they are going to be okay. This does seem to be an organization that is okay with having good years and hoping to kind of catch a break in the playoffs. But for these next 2 years, you're kind of looking to see if everything melts down and the stability just kind of crumbles. I will say this, I don't think they're going to magically be out of the woodworks in 2 years when all that buyout money is off the books, or most of it. I do think that, they'll be in a better spot where they could, have more money directed to the cap, and that's good, but these next 2 years are so pivotal in making sure that nobody makes any crazy decisions, because when things go bad, boy, is it easy to go off and make the wrong ones. But I don't know, management, I think we'll wait it out for these next 2 seasons. The final thing is, can they end their curse? Now, the Wild have been one of the best regular season teams in recent memory. In fact, they have been a team that's made it 7 out of the past 8 seasons, and they failed to win a series at any of those opportunities. They lost in the qualifying round against Vancouver. That was kind of seen as an upset at the time. The young Canucks, the baby Canucks, if you will, were kind of viewed as a weird team where you weren't sure what you're going to be getting out of them. But the point remains that the Wild haven't won a series since 2015. They've had 4 seasons with over 100 points or 100 points in those seasons. So they've been really, really good. They've just not been able to get it done when they needed to. Now, mind you, they've run into some really good teams. I know, shocker, in the playoffs. But it is a reality that they have had to face some really good sides. But also you're looking at this in the sense of Minnesota is the new Toronto to some people. Obviously, the Leafs weren't able to get out of the first round since 2004. I don't know who owns the longest streak. It might be Minnesota now, because it has been a minute, but a lot of talk is being made about what the Wild can do, and it kind of seems like they're turning into the meme of hockey. I don't think it'll be as big because, again, I don't think Wild fans track the negativity that Leafs fans do, but you're looking at them hoping that they can maybe go on a deep run because they've only went on one in franchise history, and maybe they got a little bit of luck on their side. They ended up getting Pat Maroon. Maroon is a guy that made it to the Stanley Cup Final 4 times in a row, 2019 through 2022. Won 3 of them, lost in 2022. That was unfortunate because the streak was kind of cool to see alive there. But maybe just to bring him in and then have another guy that's won Stanley Cups and just maybe get the mojo going a little bit, because I don't really buy into the whole mojo aspect of, having good luck in the sense of locker room luck or whatever, but I do believe that good chemistry and having a loose atmosphere is key to being able to have a winning atmosphere, unless you're just a team that is robotic and gets the job done. The Wild are going to be a team that I won't see a 14-point season from Pat Maroon. Last year is going to be the thing that tips the scales. But again, just trying to get back to the basics and say, what did we do well in the regular season? Why are we failing in the playoffs? Let's see what happens, and let's see if we can at least get to the second round. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Wild as we get near a decade mark without them winning a playoff series? Well, I think that they should be a good team this year. They feel like a fairly predictable team. I do look through some season previews or just some roster stuff and news about the teams before I make my season previews. And I usually have an idea in mind about what I want to talk about beforehand, and it felt like a lot of people have the same things to talk about. Again, the cap is part of that with the buyouts, and again, their lack of postseason success is part of that. So it does feel like everybody's going to get the same idea about the Wild, where it does seem like, there's a little bit of gloom overhead for this year and possibly even next year. But at the same time, their gloom is probably being top 3 in the division and making the playoffs. You could realistically see them win 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 rounds and win the Stanley Cup this year. Is it super realistic? No, but I do think they're one of those clubs that if they get in, they could have some upsets. Maybe they could make it to the Western Conference Final, to where the pressure is not so much on them and it's not that big of a deal. This is a side that is better than almost every team in their division. They did well in their division last year. I think they went 18-4-4 or something really good there, and they are looking to just kind of circle around and get the job done. So we'll see what happens here. What are your thoughts for the Minnesota Wild going into the season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. You love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.